Hello and welcome to Gamer TV. Coming up, set the slopes on fire in SSX Tour. More cunning than the bag full of boxes, Sly Raccoon returns.
You'll die any second now.
And the enemies at the gates in Sniper Elite. But first, carving up the fairway, it's our review of Tiger Woods 06.
Think you have what it takes to be the best? Follow me.
He ranks among the world's best paid sportsmen, a living legend in golfing circles and a household name in, well, households.
Unbelievable.
Now Tiger Woods is driving his way back onto consoles and PCs in this year's update to EA's long-running golf simulation series. In recent years, this particular sporting franchise has proved consistently excellent. But each new game must come with its improvements. So just how can Tiger's 2006 visit to the fairways be any better than his previous PGA Tours?
I'd be happy with this.
Well, for this edition, the major new draw is the addition of an extra career mode entitled Rivals. The concept behind this is an interesting one. Tiger's out to prove beyond doubt that he is indeed the top dog in the game, or should that be top cat? Not content with confirming himself as the main man in the modern game, Tiger needs to know if he's the best in golf's history. For a sport that was born around the middle of the 15th century, that's going to involve some serious time travelling, and your custom-made golfer is invited along for the ride.
Hey you! Think you have what it takes to be the best? Follow me. Let's see what you got. Come on.
Sure enough, you'll have to take on colourful characters from the sport's early days, so Rivals comes across as a fantasy spin on the Legends mode from last year's game. Elsewhere, apart from a few tweaks, things are pretty much as they were. Well, that's no bad thing. If you're after significant leaps in gameplay and visuals, it looks like you'll have to hang on for the Xbox 360's forthcoming next-gen version.
He's gotta like this shot.
We'll still give it 4 out of 5. For now, at least, Tiger's Golf Sim is still at the top of its game. But if you're still happy whacking the ball around with the 2005 edition, you'll have some thinking to do before splashing out on this latest one.
It's in!
While there are tons of video games about World War II,
Second squad needs a new leader, and the responsibility is now yours.
more recent conflicts like the Vietnam War can be a bit of a no-go area for developers. Nearly 30 years after hostilities ceased, Take-Two finally published Vietcong. Released in 2003, this was the first game to use the Vietnam War as source material. Since then, Electronic Arts has taken the genre mainstream with Battlefield Vietnam, but the odd thing is that both games were developed in Europe, not the USA or Far East. With Vietcong 2 still in production, we visited the game's developer Pterodon in the Czech Republic to find out why. And under intense interrogation, it turns out that the connection is closer than we thought.
Czech Republic, as a part of the Eastern Bloc, has a lot of cooperation with Russians and Vietnamese, so there is a big archives of materials. Also, I must say, we have some sort of knowledge of the occupation, because the Russians were occupying us at the same time.
The developers have been poring over their history books, and Vietcong 2 is set during one of the most famous events in the Vietnam War.
We are trying to recreate the situation around the Tet Offensive in a town of Hue in 1968. If you remember the sequence with the sniper and full metal jacket, we try to get this kind of situation into the game as well. So we put this idea into one mission.
Military shooters are relying more and more on expert advice from real soldiers to add an air of authenticity to their games. Pterodon called in an ex-US Army Special Forces advisor to do just that.
America has a whole pop culture of the Vietnam War, and even if you were never in Vietnam, you still have probably seen 15 or 20 different movies about the war. Small details like ARVN, Army of the Republic of Vietnam, you know, saying ARVN just doesn't sit well. Military acronyms I thought were important because any soldier or even someone who had seen a slew of Vietnam movies would know, hey, you know, something's not right here. One of the most exciting things for me about Vietcong 2 is how you can play as both the Americans and the Vietcong. And I don't want to give too much away, but the way the first campaign turns into the second gives you a feeling like you might not have had with any other war games.
To help give this game a cinematic feel, Pterodon's concept artists approached the project as if it was a movie.
This is the concept art. It's used to give a feel for how the characters will look. It's also used for real-life photo sessions, where we dress up models and create the textures that we actually use for the soldiers in the game. Here you can see some sketches from the original Emperor's Palace in the city of Hue in Vietnam. We made these from photos, and it helps us to create the mood and atmosphere for the game.
The popularity of first-person shooters means developers are always looking for an interesting new spin on the genre. And from the looks of things, the only thing missing from Vietcong 2 is the mosquitoes. Next up, no video game secret is safe from the beady eye of the spam filter. The fourth instalment of seminal PC title Myst could be the last. Cyan, the code shop responsible for the adventure series, has recently closed. Despite just completing a new Myst title, End of Ages, Cyan's fortunes have been in steady decline for a couple of years. Before the release of the Sims games, the first Myst enjoyed the title of most successful PC game ever. Later installments in the series weren't as well received by the public, however, and it seems like the cash for further games development has dried up. Fans of the series will still be able to get their fantasy fix when End of Ages is released by publishers Ubisoft later this year. All those gamers out there who completed Valve Software's awesome Half-Life 2 in record time, take heart. The amateur modding community feels your pain. Bedroom programmers are extending the life of the game. A number of HL2 mods which continue the game's alien invasion storyline have popped up on the net. Although these mods are unofficial at the moment, it's worth remembering that Mega Smash shooter Counter-Strike began its life as a mod for the original Half-Life. Sony's sleek handheld, the PSP, has finally washed up on European shores and is already starting to break sales records. Eurogamers have been chomping at the bit to get their mitts on the thing. It's flown off the shelves so quickly that it's become the fastest selling console in history in the UK. 185,000 PSPs have been sold so far in Britain, which is more than double the 87,000 Nintendo's DS managed. Sony still has a fair amount of ground to make up though, as the DS has sold a whopping 6 million units worldwide. Just like to remind everyone at home that snowboarding is dangerous. Think about it. You get altitude sickness, then you break both your ankles, then you catch cold, then you're deported. Luckily, the forthcoming SSX On Tour features skiing too, which is obviously completely safe. The game will be out in November and features the usual brace of suicidal boarders clinging to the sides of mountains. As with previous games, the right analog stick will be used for the more outlandish stunts, but plenty of fun can still be had with the D-pad, as well as more traditional moves like punching people in the face. Your snowy battleground will be divided into different territories, each with its own scenery and extreme geology. There will be specialist events on offer, like this heady trick jump, but at this early stage, the most fun still seems to be the simple, violent race or the showy freestyle. Speaking of the scenery, it's either destructible or ride-onable, so get ready to ruin a few holidays. While never treading on the crazy toes of its cousin, SSX Tricky, this title is looking no slouch in the totally impossible department. It's liable to make real snowboarders go all quiet, which, as you might imagine, is the best of all things. It's actually rather encouraging at this point that SSX on tour is managing to be both fun and satisfying without a load of bolt-on bonuses. It's the sort of boarding you might enjoy in real life. Slightly unhinged, that is. Look out for our review. Still to come, find out what happens when gamers pump their PCs full of steroids. We hack and slash our way through Kingdom Under Fire, Heroes. And Super Sly Guy, Sly Raccoon's back. That's all after the break. Welcome back to Gamer TV. Now, sharpen up your sword for Kingdom Under Fire, Heroes. PC gamers know the large-scale battles of the real-time strategy genre only too well, but consoles don't see this type of action very often. So, when Korean developers Fantagram brought Kingdoms Under Fire The Crusaders to the Xbox late last year, joypad bashers finally got a taste of what their mouse-pushing counterparts have been up to.
Orcs! For the glory of Ecclesia! Death to the pagan!
Death to the pagan!
Now there's a follow-up that gallantly brings strategy back to Microsoft's box, Kingdom Under Fire Heroes. Set in Bergia, the same fantasy world inhabited by the Crusaders, Heroes takes us back a few years before that conflict. It focuses on 7 characters from both human and dark factions, leading their respective armies into bloody battle. Gameplay here is actually a fusion of 3 styles: role-playing, real-time strategy and straight-up action. Negotiate the world map, chatting to medieval folks and moving the plot along. When it's fighting time, the action switches to a 3D battleground, using joypad-adapted RTS controls to position your forces and fine-tune their tactics. Then, once your hero's platoon gets close to the fight, the Dynasty Warriors-style hacking takes over and lots of carnage ensues. So here we have an ambitious title that tries to take on a whole range of gameplay types. Unsurprisingly, some bits come off more successfully than others. Role-playing sections are pretty dull. Action bits are perhaps too chaotic, but the real-time strategy elements do work quite well. If that's what you're after, or you're just curious, this one might just be your hero. We'll give it 3 out of 5.
Never born.
Warfare has always been one of gaming's most popular sources of inspiration, and the Second World War in particular has often been revisited. Still, with so many bright minds out there, you can still count on a new perspective on the old subject. As the title implies, Sniper Elite's perspective is from a great distance through a long-range scope. In this new game from Ubisoft, developed by the Oxford-based outfit Rebellion, you play the part of an American sniper on an undercover mission in bombed-out Berlin, close to the end of the war.
I was a sniper, one of an elite unit.
If he doesn't use his triggerman skills to help prevent the advancing Russian army from getting the Germans' nuclear weapon technology, the Cold War's off to a very bad start for his side. Run and gun tactics won't work here. If you want to survive the 28 missions, you'll have to carefully consider your approach to the varied situations the sniper finds himself in. A third-person view is used for manoeuvring between areas of cover and finding the best vantage points to shoot from. Then, when it's time to pull the trigger, you switch to the first-person crosshairs, which are much better for accurate aiming. Graphics are atmospheric, if not stunning, and there's plenty to challenge you here. Multiplayer options include split screen, cooperative and one-on-one. But even with your friends, don't expect a hectic shell shock of a war. We'll give it 3 out of 5. This one's for those who prefer their shooting at a slower, more strategic pace. Although it lacks the thunder of some war games, it's still satisfying to play cat and mouse with a hidden enemy. Some people can't help tinkering with machines. They're the kind of guys who think their motor is incomplete without massive rims and a spoiler which wouldn't look out of place on a jet fighter. This obsession with modification isn't restricted to boy racers. Plenty of gamers feel the need to bling up their PCs. Welcome to the world of the case modder.
Well, case modding is just taking a everyday, normal computer case and customizing it to your own personal taste. Very similar to hot rodding back in the 50s.
Computer modding doesn't actually improve your performance of computer, it just makes it look good, really.
A lot of people don't really, they don't sort of realise the limits and they just keep going and going and going.
This is the humidor cluster. I just finished this a week ago. It's actually 5 computers in one case powered off of one power supply. They're all connected through a 5-port switch and they all work together. I get quite a few inquiries about building custom cases and all. Realistically, they cost a lot of money.
I've done a bit of custom rewiring to the electrics to cut down on the cluster inside, but apart from that, most of it is pre-made. If I pop the lid, right, you'll see there's one slight difference with it, is it's actually water-cooled.
Liquid cooling is something that's been around for quite a while and it's becoming more and more popular. It's just a very efficient way of getting the temperature off the processor.
This is a computer that we have named Fish Tank. Basically all it is a computer submerged in mineral oil to allow further cooling, prevent condensation. Basically what it is an air conditioner with the cooling coil submerged in this antifreeze water mixture. The reason it's submerged is because it gets to be about -15 degrees Celsius. Condensation will freeze and you'll get ice. We've already actually shorted the motherboard out here in our attempts to get it going, but that's what it is.
For the purists, though, modding's all about cosmetic rather than technological differences.
We've seen all sorts of things, people building computers into like model remote control cars, or into like the back of a telly, or just because they can. Again, why you do it, I don't know, but some people just like to go to the limits, so I don't know what the next thing will be. Maybe someone will build something into a toilet or something.
Well, in the States, modders always have to go one bigger, better and weirder.
We walked by this one lady and I told her, I said, I said, it's the newest thing. I said, it's do-it-yourself funerals. I said, you save a lot of money. And just kept walking, and she looked at me like, oh my God.
There's a couple things in life you should see. A bald cat, a naked monkey, and a computer in a coffin.
It's the real deal. This is a child's casket, 4.5 foot long, model Guardian Angel casket from Carrying Caskets in Fayetteville, Arkansas. It wound up running about $4,000 time I built everything.
Do it yourself at its most extreme. Now you know, if you want to stand out from the PC crowd, grab some flashing lights and get modding. If there's one thing that we can all agree on, it's surely the fact that you can't trust raccoons. Punk rats, that's all they are. And this one, Sly, can't hide the basic fact that he's just a thief by being all smiley about it.
Long time no punch. See, you're still in jail.
Go! Having said that, the Sly series of 3D platformers are both shining examples of the use of cel-shaded graphics and extremely varied slices of fun. He's up for a third instalment in October, and here's a fairly early look at how things are progressing. You'll have to excuse the developer's text. In this one, Sly's gang's been shattered, which is a problem as he's up against a particularly merciless baboon on this occasion.
You should have changed the security code from 1, 2, 3 after you installed the new system.
I'll improve, I swear!
No, you'll die any second now.
Sir?
He's going to have to draw back his fellow thieves, starting with Murray, who quit at the end of the last game. Of course, the story's all an excuse for some of the most elegant platform moves we've seen on a console. The raccoon is as nimble as ever as he dances on wires, leaps onto moving boats, and takes a ride in the occasional Ferris wheel. Standard Sly moves are back too, including picking bad guy pockets for loot, cracking locks, and pulling himself up ropes. Sly the Raccoon games are a bit like the A-Team. There's a lot of crime and violence, but nobody ever gets hurt. Sly 3 looks like it'll be no different, and our review will tell you whether its sunny good looks and humour can point the way to a fourth or maybe even a fifth instalment in the next generation. Stay tuned. We're going to get out of here before the law catches up with that thieving raccoon. But join us next time for more Gamer TV.